I've been getting asked a lot lately about my thoughts about the future of software development. Whenever a new AI advance is released, I get a flood of questions asking, what is the future for software developers? And I think the question they are not asking is, will I still be allowed to code in the future? Obviously, everything besides C will still be legal. I feel like the real question that they're asking is, will I still be able to get paid with the skills that I'm learning while I learn to code? And so the first thing I want to say is I hate predicting things, particularly in public. If you would have asked me 5 years ago about if any of this AI tech, if we would have it today, I'm pretty sure I would have said no. And I'm not talking about the crazy hyped up demos. I'm talking conversational AI that returns some semblance of a conversation, even if it's mostly hallucinated. I wasn't thinking that was going to be possible. So I've had to update my priors many times throughout the last few years regarding AI and its capabilities, and therefore its future capabilities as well. So I just don't have enough hubris to think that I know what's going to happen in the future. I guess I do have just enough hubris though to post this video about my thoughts. So there's two major points though that I want to talk about. The first is that I think software is more than coding, and then the second is that programming itself is more than coding. And before I sort of go deep on those, I want to just seed, for the sake of argument, that AI will be able to do coding tasks that a junior engineer is currently exposed to do. AI will be able to perform these as faster, and more cheaply than those junior engineers. And AI will be able to do this and productionized, right? Sort of rolled out to people sometime in, say, the next 5 years. I realize some people in my chat keep telling me that this is going to be in 6 months, but that rollout seems quite difficult to change the entire structure of an industry in that time. But that's a conversation for a separate video. The reason I say that is because I don't want to fight about what I think the particular capabilities of AI are going to be. Instead, I want to talk about that with sort of that scenario in mind. And if you think any of those points are much too aggressive in favor of AI, then that's totally fine. My argument will just be bolstered in my in my corner. The other clarification I want to make is that for the rest of the video, when I say coding, I'm sort of referring to this act of sitting in front of a computer, typing, auto-completing, copying, pasting a programming language into an editor, and then shipping that to prod. In some sense, the exclusively physical act of creating software. So when I say software is more than coding, what do I mean? I'm saying people don't pay for code. They definitely don't pay to just watch you code, unless you're a Twitch streamer, I guess, then people like doing that. But what they pay for is for problems to be solved. And when you're coding, you're not getting paid for that code, you're getting paid to solve somebody else's problems, real or perceived. These problems might be for a client, or they could be for your boss, or they could be even for other software developers, right? But the reason you're getting paid is because the problem you're solving for someone is valuable enough for them to part with their beloved cash. This boils down to software being able to maybe provide something that's faster or cheaper or more reliable than what could have been accomplished previously. And software is a superset of just those coding tasks, of just literally typing into the computer, because you need more than just good algorithms or a nice type system to create value for your customers. Not to say those aren't important, just I'm saying there is more to software than that. You need to be able to understand requirements and update them when things change. This may even involve, I hesitate to say it, talking to a client or to a stakeholder. You need to be able to practice communication, understanding the non-technical aspects communicated to you, sometimes called listening, in the area of someone else's expertise. And you also need to be able to communicate technical concepts to non-technical people in your area of expertise. You need to be able to say no to feature creep and scope management. Your project can't do everything. Right? You need to be able to say no to something you'd like to do, but think the cost is more than what it's worth, like maybe rewriting your front end in Rust. There's social aspects to software and to making software, like listening to feedback and giving constructive feedback. There's mentoring and being mentored. There's patience, kindness, and respect. All of these things create teams that are generally seeming to be more effective at creating software. And there's also asking and understanding things like, how do we make money at this company? The best software developers I've ever worked at were great at all of these, including coding. They definitely were great at writing code, but they understood each of these and helped me to learn to do each of them better. All of these skills will still be useful for as long as we have jobs. They're skills that you can practice and hone while working as a software developer or learning to be a software developer, regardless of your seniority and tech stack. But even beyond that, I want to say programming itself is more than just coding. And maybe this section should be titled something more along the lines of programming can be a superset of coding. And if I'm being very reductionist, and I want to be clear, very reductionist, I see sort of two categories of programmers. There's solution copiers and there's problem solvers. Solution copier is not exclusively about using copy-paste solutions. It's about using copy-paste solutions for copy-paste problems without examination. As a clarification, there are a lot of people who primarily sort of copy and paste code and solve a ridiculous amount of problems. They could be like a scrappy solo startup, right? And they are copy pasting because they don't have an engineer, a legion of engineers to write a bunch of code. They need to take the solutions that are available and ship quickly and iterate. Or maybe they're a non-programmer using Excel and copy-pasted Python scripts to power some ridiculous real estate empire. I don't know. The point is, I'm not actually talking about that group of people here. Those people are still problem solvers. They're just focusing on a different set of problems and a different set of solutions. The solution copiers, they're not interested in how things work, just getting passed to the next task. They're sort of unaware of the ways that different libraries and language and tools can solve their problems or might not solve their problems. They just copy paste the first solution from a Stack Overflow problem or now maybe their favorite LLM until CI is green. There's no concept of considering the context that they're currently in. But this isn't just limited to technical problems like we've been talking about. It might be that they're not interested at all how their business works or how their makes money or what their customers want, right? It may be that they've never considered, does the structure of our own organization help us meet the goals and desires that we're setting out to do? In contrast, we have the problem solvers. These are curious people who try to solve problems via understanding. And I think these skills will remain useful even if we never write a single line of code again. And this is sort of where I think people are underestimating the skills that they can learn via software development, right? And my point here is that it's possible to not learn these and to not practice these even if you've been writing code for a long time. So for example, I think logical thinking is something that we can practice while we're doing software development. We can practice decomposing large problems into smaller ones. We can work on recognizing, iterating, and solving issues for customers that they're actually willing to pay for. You can get better at domain analysis, right? Understanding a problem set, possible solutions, and then how to implement some business logic or process to solve that. You can work on predicting edge cases or failure modes for those processes. You learn how to do trade-off management and understand that there exists trade-offs that you need to manage. Then there's pattern recognition, which is useful all around us. And so each of these skills seem to me at least like muscles that you can train and get better at. You can use software development as a vehicle for doing that training. And all of these skills are going to be useful, once again, for as long as we have jobs to do. Same with the soft skills that I mentioned in the software section. Let me give you an example, sort of illustrate this. A tale of two Neovimmers, if you will. And I know some people are already going to say, using Neovim, that's just a waste of time. That's okay, that's fine. If you don't like Neovim, that's fine. But I want to give a parable sort of two different people using Neovim. It's not an exhaustive list, just two examples. So the first person tries out Neovim because of some extrinsic reason, and they're hurried to get to step one of using Neovim. They don't take time to read or understand or explore. Something breaks in their config and they just post on Reddit until someone posts a reply with a solution. They might make an issue with no reproduction steps. And we've seen this kind of person in every dev community, and you can probably relate. In my opinion, this person actually is wasting their time with Neovim, which, by the way, is totally okay. We all like to waste our time in different ways. I like playing Stardew Valley with my wife, and we waste time together, and it's really nice. Pac-Man users wouldn't understand. However, there isn't any learning going on through this Neovim experience, which is bad if it characterizes every interaction that you have with skills that sort of are the culmination of your field. Compare this to someone who's enjoying using Neovim. They learn to understand how to read documentation. They might learn a new programming language. They learn new idioms and APIs that can teach them about software design. When something breaks in their configuration, they learn how to read an error message. I know, controversial in 2024. They learn to debug software systems. They learn about rolling back, about lock files. They may even create a PR to fix a problem. They build solutions for themselves and are able to rapidly iterate on them towards something that solves a real-world problem for them. They're their own customer. This person has learned a lot, even if they end up with exactly the same code as person one. Both people spent a lot of time on Neovim. But the first one, though, was a solution copier, and the second, a problem solver. The skills, attitudes, and perspectives characterizing the problem solver are helpful in many other domains, even if AI takes over writing software for them forever and they never get to use a modal text editor again, which obviously would be very sad. In the examples I gave, you can replace Neovim with whatever technology you want. React, Svelte, Rust, HTML, Excel, whatever. It doesn't matter. The pattern and the idea is the same. And my ultimate point here is that you get to choose how you're going to tackle problems and the takeaways you'll have from actually solving that problem. To move from copy paster to GigaChad problem solver, as someone in my chat put it, largely revolves around you deciding to start thinking and asking questions today. And that's pretty much it. Then you make that same choice tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. And then you just keep doing that. In a practical example, in practical terms of something you could try to do this with, just build something for yourself that solves a real problem that you have. It's okay if someone else has already built it. The point is that you're going to build it for yourself to see if you can solve this problem. Something difficult when making products for other people, particularly in, large businesses or with a bunch of other people working on the project, it's very hard to distinguish good feedback from loud feedback. It's common to have some loud feedback that seems to overwhelm and outweigh all of the other feedback that you are getting. So the nice thing about building something for yourself by yourself is you get to be that loud and obnoxious user. And then eventually you'll get to decide if you've solved your problem or not. And if you didn't, that's okay. You iterate. As I tell my 3-year-old son, it's okay to fail. That's part of how we learn. The important part is that we use our roughness and our toughness to try again. And you can translate that to any age-appropriate way of saying that for you. In conclusion, what I want to make clear, though, is that I'm not saying solution copiers are bad people or that I don't like them. Instead, I'm trying to communicate that I would be a bit more concerned if all the skills that I've developed revolved around regurgitating existing solutions. That, to me, seems an area that is more likely to be automated by AI in some fashion and more quickly than other areas of software development. I don't like giving advice on the internet, mostly because life is much too complicated for someone to explain their situation to me, and then it's much too complicated for me to explain my advice to them through this medium. So I generally don't give advice, but sort of despite this, advice for me like be curious, pay attention, work hard, don't be afraid to fail, those have never really led me astray. Thinking this way, once again, in my opinion, right, gives someone the best chance at success, regardless of how quickly and thoroughly AI expands into other software fields. I don't know what the future is going to look like. I'm just a regular mortal. I put my pants on 2 legs at a time. But I do think, even discounting all the arguments I've made throughout the video, right, that if your current hypothesis is that billions of new lines of code are going to be generated, it seems likely that truly understanding some things about code, now not everything, not every language, not every framework, not every type system, but just some things about software itself, that seems to me to be a beneficial skill compared to many other possible skills you might have or might want to learn, particularly if you like learning about it and you want to get really good at it. I hope that this can be encouraging to you to both learn and work hard in your software endeavors, and also some confidence that maybe even if we never get to write code again, that a lot of what we're learning can be really useful and transferred to other domains. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you liked the video. Thanks, everybody. I love you. See you later.